So I'm going to go ahead and get started. My name is Jessie Keener. I'm the presenter. Uh, I'm actually a volunteer right now at Webster Presbyterian Church. I have two young small children and another one due in April. So I'm having fun of volunteering and being able to say no more than most of the times you can when you're on staff. Um, I'm right near NASA, so can you imagine all my NASA engineer um, people I have to deal with on a regular basis? It's so much fun. Um, I have my MDiv with an emphasis in youth and family ministry from Fuller Seminary. And while I was at Fuller, we actually had a class on ministry in the digital era that I absolutely loved and TA'd for. So I've been voluntarily working with multiple churches in their virtual ministries from worship to Christian ed, youth group, you name it. I've been doing it for almost a year now. Um, it's been a learning experience of how to teach technological native speakers how to use technology. A little bit of housekeeping. If at any point during this time you have an issue with any sort of technology or anything, that's the number that you call. And honestly, that's for any time during this whole conference. TN has people specifically there to help you walk through your technological issues. It also helps us because then we as presenters and other people in the workshops don't have to stop and help you through it, which will make everything run so much smoother. And continuing on running so much smoother, please make sure to mute yourself. There will be times in this time where we'll be able to share with each other. And I encourage you, because we only have an hour together, to share in chat. I do have somebody from APSI here named Jamie. She will be monitoring chat for questions and other things, and she will raise her hand if she needs to get my attention throughout the presentation. There are also features for you to directly communicate with me. If you go to the participant section, you'll see things like yes, no, go slow, go fast, thumbs up, thumbs down, etc. That will help me know how things are going for you and everyone else. In fact, we are going to use that right now, because if you will go to that section, if you'll give me a thumbs up, thumbs down of whether thumbs up if your current youth group is meeting purely online, and thumbs down if you're doing a hybrid or back in person.
Can you repeat the question?
Thumbs up if you're purely online, thumbs down if you're in hybrid or back in person. This will just give me a scale of how and where people are at. So I know where to focus on the most in this presentation. So the overall of this is going to be, how do we practice virtual youth group or Sunday school or whatever? And since youth group does a little bit of everything, how do we do digital mission? How do we do social media and digital tools and all this technological fun that we have to deal with? The nice part about this is APSI has scheduled roundtables right after this. So we've had an introductory to some of this with Bruce Rayce Chow, but he did more worship and pastoral stuff. So we're diving more into how do we actually apply this in youth ministry. And also after this, then at 2:45 Eastern Standard Time, so translate that into your time, um, there are 4 roundtables directly related to the material that I will be presenting, and you'll get time to dig deeper and engage with others and communicate, because roundtables are a little bit different than workshops. There's roundtable R4, which is big ideas in youth ministry, best practices for virtual youth group. Roundtable R10, hands off mission. Roundtable R13, social media and digital tools for connectional ministry. And Roundtable R16, tech tools and best practices. So I encourage you, if one of these really catches you and you want more information, to go to one of these. There will be a different perspective, as there will be multiple people in there and no one has the same perspective. There is no one God of technology and ministry. So let's start off by talking, what are youth's life right now? I saw this so many times in the chat during the plenary. The youth are zoomed out. If they are your kids are either going to school in school or they're attending virtually. If they're attending virtually, think about it. They have 35 Zoom meetings, and if it's not Zoom, it's Team Meets or some other form of virtual meeting a week already. They are zoomed out. So how do we fight this and not always go straight to what they're zoomed out about? Also, not all of them have computers. Not all of them have internet, if they do have computers, and some of them, their school computers that they might be able to bring home, some of them have things blocked. Like I know at our school district, you cannot go on Facebook, Instagram, or some of the other places on the school computers. And for a lot of our kids, their safe place is gone. Think about it. If you are in a bad home situation, or if you just need a change of place, that's gone. A good majority of the CPS calls have reduced right after the pandemic because the teachers, the coaches, the youth group members are not calling because they don't have access to the kids anymore. So how can we work with these? And also, if you think about it, it used to be a family would go to church, spend 1 hour in worship, 1 hour in Sunday school, and maybe 1 hour in youth group, and they're done. Now, if they only have one computer, or I have a kindergartner and a 3-year-old, trying to get them on Sunday school, you can't just put them on their computer and sit down and go away. And some of our 6th graders need constant supervision. So you can't have the parents on one Sunday school class, the youth on another, and the children on another. So it's going from 1 hour of Sunday school to 3 hours for a family. So sometimes it just doesn't happen. So how can we work with this as our reality? Okay, so if we do choose to do a Zoom youth meeting, we need to look at safety. There are so many things that can go wrong. We've seen it. I don't know how many of you that were on the meeting with Montreat that we got Zoom bombed. It's a reality. And it's not just other people joining the meetings that might put inappropriate things, but also there could be bullying. There could be inappropriate comments. So doing things like having a password on your Zoom. And yes, it's okay to broadcast out that you're having this Zoom meeting, but have them email you a request for the link and the password. Do not put these on your websites, and especially do not put the password on the website. When you're on Zoom, disable private messages. You allow chat for all so everybody can talk together, but disable private messages. So that way there's no, hey, Lucas, what the heck are you thinking? You're a jerk. And I can pick on Lucas because I know him and I love him. So always make sure there's wait rooms and no one can join before the host joins. We have a social media policy that requires 2 adults in each meeting. Now, some go down the hill of going, when you do breakout sessions, you have to have 2 adults in each breakout session, because guess what? If you are recording your Zoom meeting, it does not record breakout rooms. And there has been some suggestions of legality of recording these meetings. My lawyers at my church have said that we make the parents and the youth sign a covenant for meetings, and it doesn't just require that we're going to record this and keep all the chat, but also what you wear, how you act, and what's appropriate and what's not. And I'll be honest, I stole this from a teacher in our congregation. She uses the same type of covenant for her school. I just edited it a little bit to make it church related, because she was having mom walk by in just a sports bra and a shorts, or the kid who was on the thing, take the computer with them to go to potty. No, when you set up your computer, it stays there. That is where you're setting up and that's where you're going. And if they talk a break about it or anything else, guess what? They're kicked out of the Zoom meeting, and that parent and that youth have to meet with you and your elder before they can come back to a Zoom meeting. Respect their time. Honestly, they are zoomed out. Make it an hour max or right around an hour, depending on how you work things. And keep it there. Don't run over. We've all been to meetings where it's only supposed to be an hour and then it lasts for 3 or 4 or 5. We've all been sitting in those session meetings, let's be honest here. Now, I do open up coffee time after youth group, that if they want to chit chat afterwards, it's optional, but I do end youth group time before I start the coffee meeting, because then not everybody feels obligated to stay. There is changing of the subject. These kids, part of Zooms out is they get bored of the same thing over and over again. I change Sunday school curriculum about every 4 to 6 weeks. We'll get to curriculum a little bit later, but change the subject, keep their attention. Also, when you're doing youth group, there is a magic thing in development of children where it's their age plus 3. That's how long they can stay on one subject. So if you have an 18-year-old senior, that's 21 minutes. And yes, it could be, hey, talk to your neighbor for 2 minutes about something in a breakout room or something like that, and then we'll come back and continue talking. I use it when I've been luckily and blessed that I've been able to sub at my daughter's kindergarten school, and it's literally, hey, let's talk to this next person. Let's get up and do 10 jumping jacks. Just something little thing, and it could be 30 seconds to a minute to break their attention and then bring them back to them. Now think about it on Zoom. Yeah, it might be their age plus 3, but honestly, you might want to reduce it. So most of the time I keep it at 10 to 15 minutes max on one thing before I move to something else during that. There's a whole lot of other things on Zoom and everything else. If you look at the handouts that I have provided, pros and cons of not just Zoom, but other media possibilities of doing virtual meetings. Feel free, pick what's best for you. And also, if you're a small congregation, check with your presbytery to see if they have a subscription or business or some sort of Zoom account or another account that you might be able to piggyback with, because otherwise you're limited to 45 minutes per meeting as free. Find out ways to make this cheap and free. Um, so, games on Zoom. I started this off, if you've missed it, on a simple game that was just PowerPoint slides of emojis, and they guessed what Bible story it was. There are a million games. Go ahead in the chat and pipe down some of your favorites that you have done if you've have that experience. And by the way, after this meeting, I'm going to try to get some of this copied down, any suggestions you have and other things, and see if the wonderful people of our technology will let us post on the landing site later today the notes from the actual presentation. So, because let's face it, I'm not the know it all, me it all. You guys have great, amazing, different things that you guys can share. Oh, yes. I love some of these. Um, and I did go ahead and write down a few little ones that are our favorites. Now, you'll see some of these, like Two Truths and a Lie, um, Never Have I Ever, I'm Going on a Picnic. Guess what? They were games we played in physical youth group. You can just change it up and make it on virtual. You don't have to recreate the rules. You don't have to go try to find something else. You don't have to spend time creating a virtual escape room, which, by the way, if you use the um, stuff I have for a virtual classroom, but use it to create a virtual escape room, the same setup will work for both. Um, and there's also some pre-made out there. Please, please, I beg of you, during this time, do not try to create everything yourself. See and Google and try to find what other people have done and what other people um, have already made. Um, Trust me, there are tons of things. Um, and again, some more. And for those of you with Jackbox games, um, right here is how to do Jackbox on Zoom. Just a simple little how-to, because some people don't find it as easy to um, go between if you know what Jackbox games are. Jackbox games are not always free, but it's a thing if you're blessed to have a ministry that has the money to spend on this. Yes, thank you, Lucas. Make sure everything is the family-friendly mode of things. Um, so, like I said, curriculum on Zoom is not always easily translated. If you think about how we used to do Sunday school and different curriculums in the setting, a lot of it doesn't always work on Zoom. There have created some digital curriculums. I know I've used Fuller Youth Institute, Anxiety in a Faith in an Anxious World, which deals with anxiety and youth, and it very much um, goes great online. But then some of the other stuff does not translate. If you have a great curriculum that you love and you've used online, go ahead and drop it in the chat for other people to share your experiences with. Um, some of the ways that curriculum has worked better is if you have a main speaking time and then pull them into breakout groups and have them discuss in the smaller groups. And again, when you do breakout groups in Zoom, I say 6 members max because it's hard to get everybody's say in things. Um, so just be very careful. And there are a lot of free curriculums out there. Um, and there's a lot of videos on YouTube and other things that you can create just discussion points on. Um, so they're zoomed out. Let's try things that are not Zoom related. So we have done Sunday school in a box each week, and our Sunday school is via a virtual classroom because it's just too crazy to get them all at one time and another thing along with youth group. So our actual time together is only one time a week. So I get volunteers. We put all the material in a little box and volunteers take it to about 5 houses. And same thing we'll do with lint in a bag. And I put map line in there because if you're going to multiple houses, if you put the addresses in there, it'll automatically share you what is the best way to drop those off in the most efficient way. So it saves your volunteers times. Um, but it's also nice because I encourage my volunteers to talk to them over their either on their porches or across their driveways or something so that the kids get a little bit of the face-to-face connection that they need without having it a big universal thing. I have a virtual youth group room, a virtual classroom. I'm about to create a virtual Lent room for the whole church. It works great for us. It's not for everybody. The kids are used to it because they have these virtual classrooms. Even if they're in school, the teachers are required to have that. I have linked how to make a virtual classroom, youth group, office, anything in the actual notes for this. There is about a page and a half of how to, and we'll actually go through one of the virtual classrooms one of my friends made a little bit later so you can kind of see how things work. Teleparty, which is just Netflix for um, movies. You can go there and watch a movie together, have a discussion. There are some great movies out there um, that you can have some great discussions, especially with racism and Lent and some of the other stuff going on. Um, there is an app called Discord. Your kids are on it for gaming reasons and other things. In my resources, I have 2 podcasts um, that explain what it is, how it is, and some safety measures you have to make. This is where your kids are at. This is great for talking to your kids, having connections outside of set times. But it also saves everything and you're safe if you set it up correctly. VoiceThread. I use the VoiceThread app for one huge reason. My kids and a bunch of people I know do not watch the worship because it's an hour, it's boring, it's not interactive and everything. So what I have done is VoiceThread is amazing that they can react and talk to each other about their reactions to something that you post. And I've just taken the sermon out of our worship, and God bless our tech people who record worship will just send it to me. I just put it in there, put some questions, see what they react, see what questions they have of worship so that the kids are actually interacting with our worship when they normally would be like, I really don't want to because it's boring and not interactive. Um, and sometimes it gets over their heads, and the pastors are not the best, especially in my context where my pastor is trying to talk to NASA engineers. It doesn't really work with youth group and children. So we've used that, and it's very easy because once I set up it, then I can just replace videos for videos, replace questions for questions, and it does not take much time for me. The initial setup was a little bit, but after that, you just go and do. I know there are a bunch of other non-Zoom youth group ways of doing stuff without meeting in person. If you have any suggestions or things that your church absolutely loves, again, put it in there. But I am mainly focusing on non-meeting in person at all, just because I'm in Houston, Texas. We don't um, do much because of everything being as bad as it is. But I know some people who have done um, movies on the green where they set out blankets that are more than 6 feet apart, and each youth family gets a blanket with, and then they bring their own snacks and that sort of stuff, and they stay safely in that area. But our church has decided not to have anything in person at all right now, um, just because of safety issues. But there are plenty of ways of doing hybrid or safe games. I know Nine Square is very popular right now with the PCV pipes. There's a bunch of other things that you can do, um, but that's for another time. All right, we're still youth group. You know, the vein of our existence is fundraising. Now, we're not going on mission trips. We're not doing other things right now, if we're staying completely online. But here are some things that if you do have to um, do fundraising, there's different ways of doing online. The easiest I found is we've always sold different shirts. Um, and honestly, what I've done is told them to email me the size and how many you want, and then have them mail a check or drop off or use the little square apparatus for our church, and just note that it's for youth shirts. And then once they're um, ordered, I have one person who divvies up to who, where, why, and then I have a couple of volunteers go and deliver the shirts to um, those families. Now, if you hear me, I say a lot of volunteers going and dropping stuff off. It's not just because I'm trying to be safe and trying to save money. It's because people are so desperate for that little interaction, and people are desperate of some way to volunteer. Um, I've had a 70-year-old man come volunteer to do these sort of things because it's safe, it gets him out of the house, and it gives him something to do. It's not my typical youth ministry volunteers. These are not the people that would always be the ones to go and on to Montreat with us, or the ones that would love to teach Sunday school. These are some of the older generation that just need out of their house safely. So think outside the box when you come up with volunteers. And yes, it does save money, which my treasurer loves me right now. Online auctions. There are a bunch of different sites that you can do online auctions for. They will come with a little bit of a buy-in, where the one I have used, it was like $30 to start it. And then we did everything we would normally do for a normal auction. It is a little bit more time sensitive because you have to get everything collected. You have to take pictures of it. You have to make a description. You have to then, after the sale of everything, get it to those people. It's a little bit more intensive, but it is able to be done online. And I know a lot of you have done the envelope board where you do $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, all the way up to a certain number. And people just take off an envelope, put that amount in there, and turn it in. That can be easily done, again, online, and an easy setup. You can do it via virtual classroom. You can do it a bunch of other ways. Um, so just any little thing that you can do. And I see that somebody said a youth trivia night fundraiser. That was great too. Yeah, there's a bunch of different easy ways of doing fundraising because let's face it, we can never get away from fundraising, even though we want to. Social media and communications. On the notes for this, there are, I believe I've listed almost every single social media I could find, the pros and cons, safety issues with them, who the audience is for. Because let's face it, our youth are not on Facebook anymore. It's their parents and up. Also, like what you share on Facebook is not the same thing as what you share on Instagram. So how and what it's used for. There's a whole Excel spreadsheet of everything for you. Hootsuite makes it easy. So if you're going to go ahead and post to a bunch of different sites, a bunch of different one of the social medias, Hootsuite will do it for you. It will schedule it for you. And if you are a nonprofit, you can get their other things for free. You just have to do a little bit of paperwork and you can go up for a lot of things for free. Remind is something that where I'm from, the schools started using to text message parents, youth, and everything. It is a great way to do a group one in a safe way because there's always communications. And the fact that the youth can't communicate back to each other. So it's great for announcements, little things. But yes, thank you, Jana. I'm a little typo error. But Remind is a great way for safety reasons for communications back and forth. I've mentioned the virtual youth group and office, which again is on the place, and we'll get to in a little bit to play around in one. In fact, right here, if you will go ahead and click on this virtual classroom, I use a lot of personal photos in mine, so I do not have permission to share a lot of that. So my friend Rebecca um, had created this one, so she's letting me use this one for the purposes of things. She has set up for Advent, which is her current one, what scriptures this week, what's going on, and everything. She has a little different books to go. This is a little bit more kid related, but it kind of gives you a little taste of what you can do. Also, if you go to the annual events spirituality center, marketplace, these are all virtual classrooms just set up for different things. So you can play around and see the instructions are the same no matter what you do or how you do it. They are the same. Your imagination is your only limitation of what you can make and how you can do it, if that makes sense. Again, we've had a lot of great response to this because the kids are used to it. Now, it could go the opposite way where your kids are anti it because of the fact that they get it in school all the time. So just because it works in my context might not work in your context. You might have to change it up, or you might not have to do a virtual anything at all. So, mission. How do you do mission when you can't go and do? One way we've done it is creating hang tags, having the kids go around and put the hang tags on the doors of their neighborhood. One week saying the next week they'll come by and pick up food for food pantries. One warning on this is when the kids go by and pick up the food, have them wear gloves just in case as a precaution. The food pantry I work with, mention this just because there's no 100% of how transmission exactly goes, but it's better safe than sorry. We've done mission photo scavenger hunts of whether it's different things you can do around your town, from having the kids go through their rooms and find anything clothes wise or anything that they could donate to Goodwill, take pictures, have make them have fun with that, donating food to the food pantry. Um, there's an endless possibility, and there are a bunch of different examples of mission photo scavenger hunts if you just Google it. Um, we have had kids assign certain sections of the outside of our church for them to work on the landscape, and they sign up for time slots and they're assigned certain sections, and throughout that Saturday and that Sunday they come up with somebody from buildings and grounds monitoring, and they work on whatever section of that landscape is. This could also work on those shut-ins in your church, helping their landscape outside their house. It just takes coordination with your deacons. um, we had fun with this one of chalking the driveways. We had a couple members turn significant birthdays. So we had some kids go and write love messages on their driveways with just some simple chalk. We're about to prep doing some care baskets for Valentine's Day to some sick members of our congregation. And what we're thinking about doing for our mission trip this summer is having certain of these little activities that they can do each day, and then having them post it on somewhere in little blogs of what they've done, and then have a Zoom meeting to debrief and have time together. Um, I think Brian from PYWA is going to have a roundtable on doing mission, or no, he's doing to go to the trips or not. So mission trip or actual youth trips, he'll be discussing that at the roundtable in just a little bit. Volunteers, what the heck do we do with them? We can't just do what they've normally always done. And maybe there's people who have never volunteered that have the gifts that could be your tech deacons. Um, again, tech help, always have somebody else. I have somebody monitoring chat, letting me know what's going on. Also, I always have somebody who's monitoring in case somebody needs to be booted, or if you think that something's really hitting them home, that they can connect with that child or other things. Delivering or making the supplies for youth group and Sunday school, always great things. Um, we always have the rule of 1 to 5. I got this from Chap Clark. We all know the 1 adult per 5 children for safety in youth group. Chap turns this completely around. For every youth, there needs to be 5 adults that they feel comfortable going to at any time with anything within the church. That takes time. So, what I've done in this time is assign 5 adults to check in with the youth each month. Whether it's text message, whether it's phone calls, whether it's writing notes, they're all being checked in on. Um, I have some organizing mission projects, teaching Sunday school, because guess what? You're not the only one who can teach. Um, creating videos, creating care packages, especially for birthdays or significant times in the youth's lives. It stinks not being able to have a typical birthday during the pandemic. So having a little love, something. Um, Also, I've paired up some of the older youth with some of the younger youth just to mentor and love on each other and not just the adults coming through. So using some of your older youth as volunteers also really helps. And my job then is to take care of the volunteers. I have to say 80 to 90% of my ministry is run by the volunteers. My job is to organize and to resource and to love and empower these volunteers. I check to make sure they are going to Sunday school, they are being fed, and I check on about 5 of my volunteers a week. How are you doing? What's going on with your family? Are you being stressed out? What's going on with you? And the nice part about all of this is they have been used to this hybrid model of meeting and doing. I had a abusive pastor in the past when I was pregnant with my daughter, and during my maternity leave, I was required to still come to youth ministry meetings, to session, to staff meetings. So I talked personnel into, okay, we'll do this, but we're going to do it via Skype. So for the past 6 years, my congregation has been used to having Skype or Zoom committee meetings for youth ministry. Um, it's just one of those hidden blessings that we're ahead of the times because of that happening. And it's really nice for your volunteers because they don't have to get babysitters anymore to come to meetings. I've had one father who it's required for him to be there when his daughter has soccer practice. So he literally will be on the sidelines of soccer practice with his phone, zooming in to ministry meetings. And so because they're used to that, they're able to be used to all this, and, they're used to me always checking in on them and loving them. Um, there are some great books out there about, recruiting and keeping and loving your volunteers. It's hard. It's the vein of your existence. And if your head of staff or higher ups aren't agreeing with you on certain ways of you doing volunteers, it's hard. I've had an associate pastor come and yell and scream at me because one of my volunteers who had done Sunday school for 10 years was going through a divorce. So I had a sit down conversation with him going, is this a time for you to back off of teaching all the time and you being refilled? And when we do teaching times, because once a quarter, we'll cancel all Sunday school and have the kids have some fellowship time with other volunteers. And I get my Sunday school teachers together and we get taught of classroom management. What's going on? How are things going? What's going on with the curriculum? What problems are you having? What's going on here? And I get to spend time with them. I cook them breakfast, and it's during the Sunday school time when they normally would be there anyways, just filling them and loving on them. Um, so many of the volunteers feel used, abused, and then thrown away. Make them feel loved and cherished and wanting to be there. Um, Policies and procedures. Oh, the vein of our existence, right? So, everybody is required to have a child protection policy. That's great. I bet you 99% of everybody's child protection policy does not include social media and technology at all. I was blessed in one of the churches I was at. The previous person was fired after 3 months, and the kids had complained. It was, that awkward uncle type of, I'm going to PM you some stuff on Facebook. Nothing that was illegal or anything bad, but it just made them feel awkward. So the first thing that I was asked to do right when I started the job was to create a social media technology policy. This stuff has saved my butt from time and time and time again. So not just having a child protection policy on different things, because that's not our reality right now. Yeah, there's some stuff in there that's great, but having a social media or technological policy, um, there has I included 2 in, the notes. Please don't try to create your own. Use and check. When I was creating these, I went to 5 churches that had them, asked them for to use them as examples, and we got a committee together and created them. Things like permission to record, code of conduct, dress code, who has what passwords, who can post where and where, how you decide what will actually be posted. Um, do you post, hey, this lint in a box is coming up, and let's say John Doe is in charge of it, and he's having people email to his email address. Do we post that on social media? Or do we post, hey, if you're interested, PM us on this social media and we'll hook you up with that person? Because we're not going to put personal information out there. And do you allow the youth to um, tag themselves on your social media? Do you put only first names? Do you put how, what? And also, I have 3 kids right now that are adopted, and their parents do not want their images or anything posted on our media because their biological parents are in the area and they don't want to accidentally find them. Image permission and um, permission to use some of their stuff and everything else is huge. Now, here's the deal, these policies have to go through your session. So you need to get your pastor in on this and explain the ramifications of all this. Also, go through with your insurance at your church because there are some things that have to be approved by your insurance and approved by your lawyers because there are some liability in some of these things. So, again, please do not recreate or create from scratch things. There's examples all over the place and everything else. And speaking of resources, I have tons of resources for you, but I want to say our number one resource is the Presbyterian Youth Workers Association. If you go to their website and if you're a member, there is a bunch of different things on there. Anything and everything you could want. Brian Kuhn is amazing. Um, his email is right there. If you need anything or questions, and he might not be the one to say, "Oh yeah, I can sit down." Da 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 da. He can say, "Hey, you know what? I know Lita Simpson, and she's amazing on this, this, this. Let me forward you her. Let me forward you to her, and he will help you out. Along with going to their website, there's tons of resources already there. It is absolutely amazing. Um, APSI, I am actually on APSI's communication and resourcing team, and we have been doing a lot of different resources from remote ministry to youth ministry resources to doing webinars and Zoom meetings on certain subjects to certain things. The websites are all there. It's kind of hard sometimes to navigate things, so I put specifically websites for the remote ministry resources and youth ministry resources and the Presbyterian youth workers resources right there for you. Here are some wonderful other things. Obviously, you guys heard Bruce Ray's Chow. He has a wonderful book, The Definitionist Guide of Using Social Media in Church. And his group of the Zoom Faith, I put that there before I even knew he was going to use that in there. There are a lot of, hey, I'm experiencing this. How do I do that? A lot of helping within that group. And it has been around since, I want to say, April last year. So there's a lot of different things that you can search and find. There are 2 links to helping you with Discord if you want to use that. And then I just listed a bunch of my favorite just plain youth ministry books. I don't know how experienced you are in youth ministry, so I just wanted to give you just some basic, simple ones. And you can see a little bit by who I write as authors of my Fuller youth experience and being a TA for them that I think, what, 4 of these books are from Fuller people or ex-Fuller people. I might have a little bit of bias, and I'm okay admitting that. um, so if there, and also again, I'd highlight the roundtables that are coming out. So again, thank you so much. I know sometimes it feels like you're drinking from a fire hose, but if there's any questions, um, my email is there. I'm free to take some questions and everything. If you want to unmute you for the next 5 minutes, I'm here for whatever you need. Yes, David, big ideas in youth ministry. Love that. There's a ton of different Facebook groups and pages that are huge resources also.
Did you have a specific recommendation for where to look for those policies for social media?
I have 2 in the Word document that is notes for this actual workshop. One from Webster Presbyterian and the other one, I forget which other one I sent to you guys, because I also did the same thing for child protection policy. I have 2 different policies for you to look at. Try to take one from a small church and one from a medium or large church, just so you could find a little bit difference.
Okay, I had looked on the slides and didn't see it. I hadn't gotten to the notes yet. So perfect. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
there's 2 different things. If you go to
Yeah.
the workshops stuff, there's 2 totally different ones.
Yeah, I had one downloaded on one computer and the other downloaded on another computer. I've got the giant setup, which is kind of cool, but I had just only looked on one. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. We have the child
And again, if
protection,
you
but we
can't,
don't have the social media, so I wanted to add in both. So
and again, if you can't find this in the future, my email's up there. Please
yeah,
email
this has
me at any
been
time.
amazingly helpful. I really, really appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you all, and we'll see you guys around.